Hey, thanks for stopping by Minnesota Black Robe Regiment. As always, make sure you're checking out the subscription bar down there and look for the little banner that I have down here in the corner. I don't know, somewhere here. I don't know. Subscribe, hit the bell icon, and get notifications, and like, comment, and share. Today, this evening, this afternoon, this morning, whatever it is that you happen to be watching this, we are blessed to be in the presence of Amanda Latch, who is, as we discussed already, a social media influencer. And she loves that because she knows how important she is to the realm of TikTok and social media. And so she's going to tell us all how we can have successful social media careers and not have to have real jobs. Correct, Amanda?
No.
No. Amanda and I met just a few weeks ago at a freedom rally that was hosted by Minnesota Free up in St. Paul. I was the MC of a very hot event, and by hot I mean it like was sweating weather, and I was in the sun all day, and everybody else got to sit under a very large, what I believe to be was an oak tree. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I was exhausted by the time I got done, but Amanda had a wonderful presentation, and it was so powerful that her kids actually took part in it. And if you ask me, there were some big names there, but Amanda stole the show, and I said I have to have her on. So here we are. Amanda, tell us a little bit about yourself, and from the looks of you, you're a leftist. No, okay.
Kind of like we talked about that day. I don't look like the typical patriot. No, I'm well aware that I don't have the look of a typical patriot or conservative. You know, you see somebody with the stretched ears and the mohawk and the tattoos.
What size of gauges are those two, by the way? Half inch. What are we shooting for?
Right now we're staying at a half inch. I didn't have a goal in mind when I started stretching them about 1.5 years ago. And like, yeah, this kind of feels like a decent size. I feel like if I won't go to an inch. I have a couple friends that have stretched their ears that far, and that's a little bit too much for me, I think.
Are you going to go for like the elf reshaping? No, okay. No. So anyway, you do, as you were saying, you don't fit the mold.
I don't fit the mold, and you know, just I've gotten a lot of comments about my appearance, and besides the fact that I don't look like a patriot, I've been told to give my hairstyle back because I'm not a lesbian. I've been called a trans because I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't understand the comments and the derogatory comments about.
So this is coming from people who are allegedly
left.
Oh, so the leftists are attacking you.
It's not the conservatives. It's not the patriots. It's the people that they're liberal or left wing. You know, the supposed party of tolerance and acceptance. You know, the second they find out that I'm not one of them, then the attacks come out on my appearance. And really, when those comments come out, it tells me that they have nothing better to say. They don't have a decent argument. They can't back up what they were initially saying. So they just go and attack something else, and they just end up sounding ignorant.
So basically, they're accusing you of socio-political cultural appropriation by having their look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and I'm okay with it. It's my appearance doesn't dictate how I vote, nor should, you know, just because you look like a sheltered conservative housewife, does that mean that you have to vote the right wing? It's just the identity politics to me make no sense. Just because you look a certain way doesn't mean that you know, swing one way or the other politically.
So before we get into your status as a social media influencer and the mass amounts of money that you make doing that, no. Oh, okay. Hey, I have now earned 18 cents on Rumble, so
I think I've made a grand total of like $8 from being live on TikTok.
Okay, I feel petty now, so show is over. I'm just going to go slink off into the corner of my remodeling work, and you can just talk now. No, so you have a little bit of a history as far as you, if I remember correctly, you were raised in the church, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Are you a Minnesota native?
No. No, I was born in Texas, and my folks moved up here when I was, I don't know, like 6-8 months old, and I think they had moved up here because my dad had a job up here, so this is where we landed against my will.
But you're here now.
But I'm here now. This is
and
home.
and as everyone can see, if you follow the scroll or look at Amanda's tag for herself there, that's her TikTok handle at @that_MN_patriot. Make sure you follow her. I'm not going to put her in the awkward position of making her watch her own TikToks. I made her send me her favorites, and we'll probably be putting those up on my Facebook and my Telegram so that people can see those. But so you were raised going ostensibly as a Christian girl.
Correct.
Were you raised like a Southern Baptist, Lutheran, Methodist, Catholic, Roman Catholic? What were you raised?
No, the church that I grew up in was a non-denominational, so it wasn't like Catholic, Lutheran, Baptist, any of those. It was just they always called it a non-denominational church, but it was very, I would say my upbringing was a lot more strict, very, you can call it conservative, not so much on politics, but conservative in
social,
very
social conservative.
What I could watch, listen to, friends I could have.
Right. So you only listened to certain types of music growing up
that my parents knew about. Yeah.
Right. No, that's perfectly fine. Well, I bring that up because your parents were at the event that day, and your dad was all in on like live streaming your presentation, your speech at the rally. So he's on board with your look and your presence now.
Well, to be honest, I've never asked my folks what they think about, the appearance, but they've both my mom and dad have both told me that they're impressed and they're proud of me for speaking up and being vocal.
Right.
And the things that I'm saying and speaking up about. So.
Well, that's huge.
Yeah, it is.
Because there again, you don't fit the mold.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm just going to make you do this because it's just fun, and I already know how you feel because you just told us about your daughter getting her driver's license. So no one's going to believe this. So how old are you?
34.
34. So
16. So you do the math.
And we're just going to not do the math right now. I think this is going to end up being a thing. So, you walked away from all of that for a while.
From what?
From the good image, strict Christian girl upbringing.
I definitely did rebel for a while. I mean, I certainly didn't intend on getting pregnant when I was 17. If that's the most rebellious thing that I did, well, yeah.
Well, I really didn't mean it that way, but thanks for sharing that.
It was walking away. I mean, I wasn't very active in my church for a long time. I kind of got burned, and I was not acting as Christian as I was raised. I think that probably disappointed my parents a little bit, but I found my way back to faith, found a church that felt like home for me, and my kids are being raised in a good Christian church that teaches them to read the Bible for themselves and learn and study on their own. Not to just believe what the pastor is saying on stage because he's a pastor or she, but to actually.
You could say he. We prefer that.
Well, my pastor's wife does. She's a pastor as well. She preaches.
we're going to have conflict in the middle of this. And I'm like, I'm one of those weird fundamentalist types, I guess. I don't know. We're not supposed, my dangerous one was supposed to be 2 days ago. And then the one I had on Sunday, and like, now you're just opening up this whole thing to Amanda, stop. So you rebelled, whatever, that means, and found your way back.
Mm-hmm.
God led you back. How long have you been back in that walk?
So, I started attending my church. It would have been Easter 2010. So it's been 11 years now.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And is that in your, because you're in Lexington?
Cambridge.
Well, all of these weird East Coast names for churches. So
no, my church is in Elk River.
Okay.
I started attending there when I lived in North Minneapolis.
Where are you going?
I attend Free Grace United.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they're not woke.
No. And actually last night, unfortunately, I was unable to attend because I was at the planning commission meeting here in my town, and they had
we'll have to get there. So, but you sit on the planning commission.
Correct.
Yeah. So you were appointed to that.
Yes.
Okay. I just want everybody to understand. Miss nonconformist conservative looking at, could you imagine walking into your planning commission meeting and seeing this lady sitting in front of you and think,
what does she know?
Right. That was too easy. Sorry. So your church isn't woke.
Nope.
Do your pastors actively encourage people to not go that direction, or?
Not in so many words, because and I haven't asked them about it recently, but they have spoken about, the fact that talking about politics doesn't lead people to Jesus. And if their political opinions would potentially cause someone to not want to go to church, they don't really talk about it. But they, I think it was 2 weeks ago, they had mentioned they were going to have a kind of like an informational meeting at church last night, and talking about homeschooling, because there's a lot of things in the schools that we don't necessarily want our children to be taught. There's a lot of things going on in the schools that we don't agree with, and trying to help parents have an alternative way of teaching their children. So it was a meeting about, homeschooling your kids. What are your options, resources? How do other parents in the church homeschool their kids? Which, you can take that however you want it, for whatever their opinions are.
You have quite a few families in your church that homeschool?
It sounds like we do.
Okay.
And like I said, I wasn't able to attend. So there are a couple I'm going to reach out to, because I know that some of them work full time. Like, how do I homeschool while I work full time? So I'd like to chat and see how they make it work.
And that's a poignant perspective for you, because you are a single mom.
Right. I mean, I do have, 50-50 custody, so it's not like their dads are not involved. They are very much involved. But if there's a way that I can make it work and they'll support me and help me to homeschool the kids, I'd love to.
So, I'm glad that you brought that up, because, and you and I talked a little bit about some of the conservative activism, constitutionalist activism that I do with going out and working with groups around my neck of the woods, because we're not in the same region. She's way up there by the danger.
I'm north.
Right, but you are closer to the cities than I am.
Correct.
Yeah, see, and I am way down. I'm two and a half hours away, depending on where you're at. So I don't get as much of the stench as you do.
And I'm kind of between the cities and Duluth.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in a liberal sandwich.
Nice. I'm just completely lost now. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, other than to say that here you have a single mom. Yes, there again, the dads are involved in the kids' lives. Saying, if I have to make sacrifices to home educate, at this point, I'm actually would like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not easy because a lot of people are facing that decision right now. And not because of the COOF restrictions from last year where the kids were home because the schools were shut down, but
Mm-hmm.
you're actively saying like I'm contemplating making a conscientious decision to bring my kids out of the government indoctrination centers and bring them into my home and handling their education. And the reason that I want to emphasize that is that was a big part of your speech at the event a few weeks ago, was what your kids are being faced with. Can you share a little bit about that?
So I'm finding that it's really hard to actually determine what are they teaching our kids. And the whole wokeness of schools, I'm seeing it more evident, I think, with my oldest, with my daughter, than I am with my boys. Because I think it's a little bit more evident in high school, and I don't know if
You
it's,
think they're more like bold with it
I think,
with the older kids and maybe a little bit more almost clandestine with the younger kids?
right, because with the younger ones, they're teaching them, the basics, and from what I've seen coming home from them, that seems to be what they're learning. But with my daughter being in high school for the last 2 years, and the things she's bringing home from her friends and from a couple of her teachers has me really concerned, because she's talking, as much as she seems to agree with me, she's also coming home with all of this liberal ideology that she's getting, like I said, it's either from friends or from teachers, and
Or a combination.
and then trying to ask her about history, and whether it's relating to how slaves actually started here in the US, or different wars that were fought, why were they fought, and the different politics. She doesn't seem to know as much about that, and that's concerning to me, because I've heard it said too many times, if you're not teaching history, you'll repeat it.
Yeah. Those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it. Yeah.
Right. And there's, as much as there is some terrible, tragic, and horrifying parts of American history, if you don't teach them, if children don't know what happened in earlier America that we don't want to repeat, it's going to happen. It's important that they know this is where we came from, this is where we started. Unfortunately, yes, this crap happened, and this is why we know it's wrong. This is why we know we won't do this again. And she doesn't seem to know a lot of this, or she's fed lines from her friends and she believes it is absolute truth, and it's frustrating trying to teach this stuff out of her. And the one time that I saw her really stand up was 2 weeks before classes were done for the year. They had a mask off Monday, and she's like, she was all on board. I hate these masks. So she didn't wear one for the last 2 weeks. And, to hear from her, the first couple of days were great and people were on board, and she got a couple friends to take their masks on. But that very quickly changed. They put them back on, and then she was shamed because she wouldn't conform to the rules. I'm like, well, they're not really good friends then anyway, because if they're really going to be concerned that you don't wear a useless mask on your face and they won't talk to you, were they really that good of friends in the first place?
She talked about that when you called her up. She talked about that and how the one had been a really good friend for quite some time. You and I are like, you don't know what it means to have a long-term friend when you're 16 or 15. Right. But for her, it was a long-term relationship.
Right. It's been the better half of the last 2 years. So
right.
For that friend to disown her over a piece of cloth in her face was really upsetting.
Yeah. Do you think that opened her eyes a little bit?
I think it did, because as we were talking about that, it's kind of opened up other doors for me to talk to her about, pay attention to this, pay attention to that. What are they saying on the news? Okay, why don't we go and actually look this up elsewhere outside of the liberal media? and see what they're not telling you. Because I've told her multiple times, and her dad has too, the media is putting out there what they want you to hear. And if that is your only source of news, you're going to be vastly misinformed.
So dad's on board with this.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, when you have houses divided like this and you're sharing custody with the kids, there's always that fear that the other parent is giving counterproductive information to them.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, he and I basically came from very similar backgrounds, raised in the same church. I've known him since I was 2. And granted, with the divorce, it took us a long time to get to the point where we're at right now. You know, no phone calls, no texting, emails only, the whole bullshit.
It was ugly.
It was ugly. And we finally got to the point where we can actually co-parent well. We're friends, and we are able to communicate well and work together for the benefit of raising Serenity. And it really helps too that his girlfriend is a decent human being, and she and I get along too.
Well, people are afraid to not get along with you because you don't look the role. You know?
I've never asked her or assumed that she was in any way intimidated by me.
So you've been through it. You've got kids in it, and you're doing your best to provide for them. You work a full-time job. Talking about homeschooling, going to in a church that's apparently standing up to a lot of this, or encouraging people to stand up to a lot of this, talking about getting more of the families in the church to get their kids out of the government school systems. And then lo and behold, you decide you're going to have a TikTok account, and it seems to be taking off. When did you start your TikTok? 2, how did you become Minnesota famous?
So
maybe you're more than Minnesota. Maybe I'm talking to I am so out of touch. You could be like world famous and I wouldn't even know.
Well, I do know one of the TikToks I sent you, the one about the birther thing, that one apparently was shared on some Canadian website. I was tagged in my own video on Instagram, which I thought was kind of weird. How does that even happen? But no,
that happened to me the other day. Like I know you're busy, but I did you remember Lisa from the event.
Yeah.
I had done a conversation with her and her business/financial manager, kind of detailing a timeline of things.
Yep.
And I'm scrolling through one of the groups on Facebook, and somebody shared my video, and I'm like, whoa, I'm famous. That's me. So anyway, your birther video, you got tagged in it.
Yeah, I was tagged in my own video on Instagram. That was a little bizarre to me. Okay. And
so when did you start your TikTok, and when did us all kind of start to kick off?
So I created my TikTok account, I believe it was February 2019. So it's been a little over 2 years. And honestly, all I knew was that TikTok used to be Musical.ly, and it was this app where you lip sync to whatever audios you can find on the app, whether it's a movie clip or music or a comedy skit. And I didn't really put a whole lot of effort into it. At first, I was literally scrolling for probably 2 or 3 weeks before I finally am like, all right, I should make a video. How does this work? I don't know how to do this. And my daughter doesn't even have TikTok. I'm pretty sure she knows more things about TikTok than I do. Or just like different tricks on how to make it look better. I don't know. But I created my account for fun. And initially, I didn't even have the name. I don't know where my name is on here. I didn't have the name.
Yes, it's right there where you can't see it.
Oh, okay. I didn't have
your right corner of the screen.
my name on there initially was Purple Unicorn 2.0 because Purple Unicorn was already taken. And it was that because a friend of mine had called me a unicorn because I sat down at a restaurant and said, I want that to eat in like 2 seconds. And purple because, well, it's not very purple right now, but I had purple hair, like Purple Unicorn. But it was kind of, over time, like, oh, that's a really juvenile name or whatever. And I didn't change it until quite some time later, but I created the account for fun, just to have fun on the app. And I remember seeing some creators that had like 20,000 followers thinking, oh my God, they followed me back. Why am I getting so geeking out? Why am I geeking out over this? It's a stupid app,
Social media fix. That's all it is. It just strokes your ego.
It was just literally for fun. And then it was, I know it was after the election. It was either late November, early December. I had posted a video and I was just using somebody's audio. And it was about Donald Trump being your president. And that one, I took a little shit for that one. And then there was this trend, and it's still kind of going on TikTok, that was tell me this without saying that. Like, tell me your mom without telling me your mom. I'll go first. And, I always have toys all over my floor, something like stupid like that. I'm like, well, since this is still a trend on TikTok, let's do a political version. Tell me why you voted for Biden without using Trump's name. And of course, most people couldn't, or they just left shitty comments. And I had a couple people tag me in their duet responses, and like, you're still not giving me any valid reasons why you voted for Biden, because all of your reasons are stupid. You literally are just telling me you voted for Biden because of all these things that Trump did. You're not giving an answer.
So they did it, but they didn't really actually give an answer. So they didn't mention Trump's name. They just mentioned what he did.
Right. So that one, I mean, at that point when I posted, I think I had maybe 7,000 or 8,000 followers, but like, I'd get 50 to 150, maybe 200 views on my video, which tells me that most people that followed me because they liked one video and then they never watch any of my other videos, which is fine, because at that point I wasn't like, I want to make this is for me. It's fun for me. You're
venting.
Right. So then these ones started,
which is how my channel started. I had to vent, and I had no one to talk to.
So that one took off. I'm like, oh my God, now I have like 12,000 followers. What the hell is going on? Because it took me a year and a half to get to 8,000. And it just kind of started taking off from there. I started interacting with more of the patriotic people that were following me, communicating with them, talking to them, figuring out what's going on in their state. Because of one troll that was going after me on a bunch of my videos, I did a video response to one of her comments about, it was please touch grass. I'm like, what does that even mean? So I went outside, like, it's snowing. What are you talking about?
And you realize I live in Minnesota, and it's anytime after August, I may not have grass.
Right. But because of that, that video that I posted, it showed up on somebody's For You page, meaning it was a video that somebody else would like based on their other content that they follow. And it was a guy in Australia. And since then, he and I have connected, and we've talked back and forth about what's going on in his country, my country, kind of different terms.
Did you make an intercontinental love connection?
No, he's definitely in a relationship.
You're like, I tried.
No, I did not. But just like to kind of see the differences between my country and what's going on in Australia, the differences, and to, for somebody in another country to recognize what's going on in the States and how messed up it is.
Yes.
And to,
Good catch.
He and his missus lived here, they would be on the right side of things, But I've made connections all over the country, more so than internationally, of patriots that are noticing what's going on in their states with their governor, with their elected representatives, how they're speaking up, and what they're seeing going on with them losing their freedoms in their state, and how it's affecting the rest of the country. So from those few videos, my account exploded. It brought me to pages of other patriots that are speaking up. They're not the silent majority anymore. If we're the silent majority, well, if all of us would speak up, we wouldn't be in this situation.
Yeah, I hate hearing that. Oh, the silent majority is behind you, TC, and I'm like, I don't need you behind me.
No,
I need you standing.
Like, stand next to me. Speak up with me. Don't be silent anymore.
Yeah.
It doesn't help anybody. It does nothing. If we're all silent, then, well, we might as well roll over and be dead then, because socialism is just going to fully take over.
Absolutely. So how many followers you have now on TikTok there, Your Highness?
64,000 maybe. I don't know. I haven't looked lately.
So on average, how often are you putting out a video?
I try to put out a few a week, and it's easier when I don't have to wait until like 9 o'clock at night, because by then my creativity is shot. It's gone.
So I'm stretching the limits, is what you're saying?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
But it's easier when I don't have my children here during the week. Usually I'll
disclaimer, she loves her children very much.
You. And they've been in quite a few of my videos. Oh, there was another one I should send you. It was really funny. But they have been in my TikToks. They know that I have a TikTok account, and sometimes they make fun of me.
Yes, your Serenity was, when I said I was going to make fun of you when I introduced you, Serenity was all on board with that, if you remember.
Of course she was.
Yes. So
That's because I take every opportunity to use my rights and privileges as her mother to embarrass the ever-loving shit out of her. It's my job.
What a shock. So did you find yourself in March of 2020, not just with TikTok, but in general, looking around you saying, I do not recognize what's happening?
A lot of the time. I even, after it just been a couple weeks, I'm like, I don't even understand how this is going on. Like, schools are closed, businesses, churches. It made no sense to me. Because I remember kind of the beginning of March when the rumors started that walls might be closing down the state. I'm like, then what happened? Why? It's just a virus. And then it big fat did anyway. And it's like, how is this happening? Why? It still, like, last summer, I'm like, why are we shut down? Why do we have a mask mandate midsummer when cases have gone down? It literally made no sense.
How did your church respond to the governor's orders?
So they were closed. I wasn't sure, because that Saturday, March 14th, would have been a weekend that I was serving at church, and I'm like, are we closed? Are we not? And we were. So we were closed until, and we just did online only. God, was it June? I think. Whenever we were finally able to be open again, we were. And it took a long time. And even at this point, I think people are still slowly coming back and being comfortable being, like, in a building. They had the chairs spaced out, like extra space between rows. It was really.
Was that hard for you to be in that? You think you found a church home, and then now you're watching and you're seeing. And the reason I ask is because I've been through that. Like, I guarantee you, we come from I don't want to say disparate, but we come from different theological doctrinal perspectives,
Mhm.
but yet our experience here is much the same.
Yeah.
That my church, the church that I've been attending for the last few years,
Mhm.
like, oh, the governor said we have to close, so everything went to online, and
Yeah.
we're just now sort of kind of back to some sense of normalcy.
Mhm.
And I'm looking at it going, and we're about to get something else. They're about to do something else, and I'm over here going, please don't order us to mask up. Don't order us to stay home.
Right.
You know, or not that the church can order you to, but
Oh, right. And it was initially when when we were realizing we can gather we on Wednesday nights we would do our Wednesday night service. We did them outside, which was really nice. Like I thoroughly enjoyed it because there's quite a large concrete slab out front of the church. So just to sit outside and sit in our chairs that we bring and have service, have a smaller band, just one acoustic guitar and a couple people singing for worship. Honestly, I loved it. Like I could do this every Wednesday night.
But you don't want to be in a position where you have to do it that way.
Right.
Especially in January in Cambridge.
Work. No. So I was really glad when they first opened, but I hesitated the first couple weeks because the church was open, but kids ministry was not. I'm like, I am not coming to church and forcing them, they don't want to sit with me. They're bored. They want to be with their friends in their class. They want to see their teachers. So why can I sit here? And they can't. They can't go to their class. So I was a little irritated with the way that our governor was allowing us to do things. It pissed me off. And then when we had the mask mandate, kids had to wear masks in childcare. If kids came in without them, they had to give them a paper mask because they didn't want to get shut down or have somebody go and tattle to the governor, hey, they're doing this. And I'm like, no, I'm not wearing one. I'm not sick. I don't need one. So the first few times I did wear one, I'm like, this is stupid. I'm not doing it. And, I understand as a leader, leading my team, should I have worn one? Maybe. But I didn't.
Well, let's talk about that. Why? Like, so, I mean, if you're a team lead at work and your boss tells you need to wear a facial covering, then to some degree you have an obligation to be obedient to that in the realm of work. But what about outside of there, Amanda? Did you go to Quick Trip or Casey's or Hy-Vee or whatever? Did you feel the need to cover your face while everybody else was doing it just because there was a mandate?
So admittedly, I was really conflicted because, like, do I need one? No. Am I sick? No. Do we need a mandate? No. I was thoroughly against it. But I thought, while I'm at church, if I'm supposed to be a leader, and if people that are not normally attending church are afraid to, because they're afraid of this virus, am I pushing them away from attending church or taking that next step of faith? Am I hindering them from that? Am I making them fearful or judgmental? If they're judgmental, that's their problem, really. But
well,
am I by not wearing one, am I doing the wrong thing? And I feel like I'm having this whole moral dilemma because I don't agree with it, but at the same time, I don't want to be the person that's pushing somebody away from attending church or, like I said, taking that next step of faith. So I think for like a month or so, I did wear one at church, although most of the time it was that clear plastic face mask thing that went under your chin. It's not really a mask. It was like that little face shield thing. Mostly I wore those.
But let me push on you a little bit, and this is where You're like, it's not what I was expecting. I thought I was going to promote my TikTok all night.
Oh,
You should know better by now. I think we've had enough conversations. You knew I was gonna come at you from a different direction every time.
mhm.